So if you recall, at the top, the charge that I have been carrying, as given to me by ministry and council at the yearly meeting, uh, is to prepare documents and make them available that discuss all the issues uh, and how the withholding policy works. Well, up until now, we've more or less addressed the all the issues piece of it. However, as you can imagine, the how the withholding policy actually works part kind of overlaps that. What's underneath, though, right down there, is some of the actual concrete financial data, the numbers, the figures, what's going on from a logistical, technical, financial perspective as a result of the withholding policy. How much money are we talking about, and what is the financial effect that is being produced by us having this withholding policy? Um, Over there, um, is the present state of things, not about data, but reflections from people's emotional and spiritual experience of the withholding policy. That seems to be part of how it's working also. But below here is the technical financial aspects of how it's working, and then how it's working in people's lives is over there. So, without further ado, let's take a look at some of the data down below. There is a link down below to a spreadsheet which has all the data that generated all of the withholding policy information. So that's the specifics you're looking for here if you want to do a deep dive. First thing to note is kind of the FUM budgeted expenses for this is the year that we had data for 16-17 fiscal year. And this is a figures to let you know kind of what it is that Friends United Meeting is spending its money on. You could take a look here, but the biggest figures have to do with administrative services and communication administration, right? So as you could imagine, kind of staffing for these big global organization or international, at least, takes up quite a bit. And then the question is, if this is what FUM is doing in general, it's spending its money on, how much does New England Yearly Meeting contribute to it? That's the question here that seems most relevant. So for fiscal year 18, for New England Yearly Meeting, this is our kind of budget figures. And the percentages here, and we'll get down to dollars down below, but just as a proportional sense, this is what we said at New England Yearly Meeting we wanted to spend our money on, right? So up here is what is FUM spending its money on, and down here is what is New England spending its money on. And what you can see down here is our largest figure is staffing for Friends Camp operations, and then down here you have the support of other organizations figure, 3.6%, this kind of purplish sliver. And inside of that 3.6%, of our fiscal year budget for 2018, that's where the money that we're giving FUM kind of resides, under the category support for other organizations. And if you scroll down even further, you'll see this other circle, which is the breakdown of the 3.6%. So we took this support of other organizations sliver, that 3.6%, and then we broke that down even further. And you can see that of the 3.6%, 28.4% goes to FUM. So, in concrete numbers, 1.02% of New England Yearly Meeting's 2018 budget was allocated for FUM. The total amount allocated was 1.02%. Now, if everyone gave what was allocated, that would be the 1.02%. However, because there's a withholding policy, we know that Friends meetings can minute that they are withholding some of the money they want to give to the yearly meeting, so that we don't give out of conscience and support FUM, as we've noted before. So what we will do below is take a look at kind of what's going on at the monthly meeting level in terms of dollars and cents. This link here, bit.ly-2 capital N, capital R, D, capital B, R, capital S, that will bring you to the spreadsheet where all the data from below is held. Rather than going into a spreadsheet line by line, it's down there. You can see it in the presentation, and you can go to the link where you can see it a little bit easier. I want to talk about some of the effects at the end of the day in terms of the withholding policy. So for 2018, of the 1.02% budgeted for FUM in 2018, that number is $13,000 and $13,075. Right? That's the total amount that we wanted to give to FUM. 11.86% of it was withheld. So we said we would give FUM $13,075, but we didn't give them $1,550.39 of that. Right? So we withheld 11.86% of the $13,075 we said we'd give. However, it's important from a kind of logistical perspective to remember that the minute from 2009-54, the minute that established the withholding policy, also established a fund into which individuals or meetings can contribute to make up for the balance that's being lost through withholding. The minute says a fund should be established into which individuals can donate to add to the yearly meetings contributions to FUM. Individuals may donate to this fund if they wish to help ensure that the full budgeted amount goes to FUM. Right? So we set up the withholding policy possibility and also the separate fund which people could put money into to kind of cover the difference. So in 2018, the amount withheld from FUM was $1,550.39. And in 2018, the amount given to FUM from that account 73714, that's what we now call the account into which people can give. That's the revolving account to support the difference. The amount given to FUM from that account was exactly the same, $1,550.39. So then, in terms of the kind of efficacy from a financial perspective of what's happening, what's the effect of this policy, the difference between what New England Yearly Meeting said it would give to FUM in our budget and the amount given by New England Yearly Meeting operating budget and then the extra given in by the donors, the sum is zero. So we give exactly in 2018 what we said we would. It's just that that difference, $1,550.39, is given not from the operating budgets of the yearly meeting, but from individual people who are giving to the fund to make sure that FUM gets that. So the funds, the difference between the funds, what we said we would give and not, is zero. It's just that instead of it all coming distributed across the whole of the yearly meeting and the membership of the yearly meeting, the monthly meetings that comprise it, there are some individuals and individual meetings who are making up that $1,550 difference, and they're giving out of their own kind of pockets and their own finances to make that balance happen. On the whole, the total amount withheld from FUM since 2009 is $10,021.12. The total amount given thus far to FUM from donors who want to make sure that that's balanced is exactly the same figure, $10,021.12, which means from the beginning of 2009 to the present, there's no difference between what we said we'd give FUM and what was given to FUM ultimately by the yearly meeting, combining the operating budgets and also those special donor funds. So from a financial perspective and at the yearly meeting level, there's been no effect in terms of the amount given to the FUM body. Where we will see the effect, or you could imagine seeing the effect, is all those individual donors. So individual donors have paid in the last 9 years $10,021. Instead of that $10,000 being spread over the course of all of the monthly meetings, individual donors have given into this fund and made up that $10,000 difference, so that ultimately the same amount we said we'd give has been given. All those figures are here in the spreadsheet, and you can check it out above. But the thing you should know about is where it's coming from. So what we've got here is the meeting responses to the minutes. So these are kind of the financial figures, and over here, what you've got is the kind of logistics of what meetings are we talking about. So over here on the left, you've got minutes from meetings we're withholding. So these are the meetings that are withholding from they're done in alphabetical, and you can see over here what year and month they sent the minute in, and then over here there's minutes from meetings not withholding. So some meetings have sent in a minute to the yearly meeting in response to 2009-54, the withholding policy minute, and said, we received this withholding policy minute, and we wanted to tell you why we're not withholding, why we are still giving the same amount we said. And so those are over here. And then these are the meetings that have sent in a minute and said, we are withholding, and here's why. Now, we don't know all the way if every meeting that sent in a minute to said they're going to withhold is still withholding. There is some data to suggest that not all of these meetings are still withholding, but we haven't received a we're not withholding anymore minute from any of these meetings. So it seems safest to say these are all the meetings that we got a minute from that said we are withholding. And perhaps we can later find out that some of them are not, but we know at least some of them continue to do so. Over here, just as a comparison, you can see the total kind of quantity of monthly meetings in New England Yearly Meeting and kind of see the breakdown. So this big figure, the yellow one, that's meetings that have not sent in a minute one way or the other. They haven't corporately weighed in on what their feelings are about the withholding policy. This green sliver here, that 8.7%, that represents the monthly meetings that have sent a minute into the yearly meeting and said, we are continuing to fund at 100%. We are not withholding and wanted to tell you why. And then the 19.6%, the orange one, is meetings that have sent a minute into the yearly meeting and said, we are withholding. All of those minutes you can read if you go over here and click on that. It'll open up the place where all those minutes are held. Now, if you want to think a little bit more about the impact or the effect and how the policy works, not in terms of finances, but kind of spiritual reality, you can go over here. That's the next piece.